Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. It's actually sunny out for like 5 minutes, so thanks for being here with me while it's not raining. That's great. Um, Welcome. Today we're talking about Hyperdocs, which is a really interesting concept. If you were in our last Wednesday workshop, we talked about Bitmoji Classroom, which is a very similar idea. It's the idea of Hyperdocs is to create a place where you can post lots of resources and activities all in one place that is easy to find, easy to navigate, easy for your students to use, while at the same time reducing the number of posts that you're adding into your Google Classroom feed or into your Seesaw feed. So by compressing our resources and putting them in one easily navigatable, locatable place, we can actually cut down on the number of posts that we're putting into our Google Classroom. So, question, what is a hyperdoc? I'm actually going to stop sharing on this screen. Hold on a second. And then switch over to my other one. There we go. All right. Now we are back. And I'm going to just quickly present this, and then I will hand it over because we have a special guest who's going to do a lot better job explaining this than I am, but I just kind of want to give you a little introduction. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. This is an example of one type of hyperdoc. This is an example of a My Happy Place lesson. And as you can see, this is just a Google Doc, and it has some graphics, and it's using some text boxes to organize stuff. But the question is, what is your happy place? Click here to see a video. So it starts by engaging the students, showing a video. Then you explore, and this takes you to a map, and then it says write about your place here. So this gives the students a place to write directly within this assignment. Then they can go to a collaborative map and add to the collaborative map. And then they can reflect all right within this one doc. So instead of going to Google Classroom and posting a video and posting a link to a map and then posting an assignment to reflect, you could just do this all through one doc and have kids go there. Likewise, here is another example. This is a hyperdoc that is based in a Google slide presentation. So again, showing some videos, showing links to other places where you could go, allowing students to actually apply and write directly within the doc. So hyperdocs are basically just using Google Docs to collect activities, resources, links, all that together in one place. I'm going to stop babbling about what a hyperdoc is, and I'm going to hand it over to Kristen Chambliss, who I saw in the meeting. Kristen, are you here?
I've had my mic on. I'm here.
Hello, Kristen. Welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us about your journey into hyperdocs, and then launch into how you're using them and what you're doing with them?
Yes, and oddly enough, my teaching partner is down there on the list, and her and I have been using hyperdocs together, Miss Kamada, Hannah. Yay! So glad to see her there too. So we went into this digital learning thing, just trying to figure out, okay, how to get as much of the information succinctly to the kids in one spot. I had originally started looking into hyperdocs because I was in the Explorer program, and I was looking at what happens if we have too many snow days. Are there ways that we could create a digital learning platform for middle school and elementary? And then this quarantine thing comes along and changes everything, and everybody's now digital and going, how do I do it? So we did our first supplemental lessons and did a survey at the end, and the kids were like, they're super confused, they're super stressed out. They're like, we're getting 6 and 7 posts from teachers every day. We're going to miss things, and it was adding a lot of stress. So Hannah and I had come up, looked at some of the resources that I had pulled together and said, hey, you want to look at hyperdocs? and see if that would work. And I had gone to IPDX, and there was a person there presenting Hyperdocs. And there's a lot, if you type in Hyperdocs, you will get like Teachers Teach Teachers will have Hyperdocs, and there's a bunch of resources that you can see, ones that people have already created, and then you can change them to your own. Or like this one, I was while you were ready or getting, introducing everything, I was pulling up some of my tabs. So here, I'm going to present. This is, let's see, a tab. Okay, is this one? I got to figure out which one it is. Okay, sorry about that. I have too many tabs open like normal.
Who doesn't?
Yes. Okay. I think it's this one here. Yes. So this is a template that you can use. Pretty simple. Because the original, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So the original concept is that you do a lesson per Hyperdoc. We've kind of changed that to a week's worth of lessons within a Hyperdoc. But originally the concept is that you would have whatever their engage is, then their explore, then their explain, their elaborate, and evaluate. And you can put all of the links into that. So now I'm going to change what I'm showing you. This is how we changed it. Hannah and I changed it. So we have our week of instructions, and I'm sorry, my canary has decided to join in on this presentation. I needed a background singer, I guess. So the instruction, we give like the instructions and then a little work tip. And then this is what we do with our students. So we have the blue, it just tells them what they actually have to do, right? So it says like, go through this slideshow. They click on this slideshow, which it says here in green, click here for the link. And then,
Kristen, I don't think I can quite see that. I think I'm seeing your old tab.
Okay, let me change then what I'm presenting. Stop present that and present my new one. Okay,
great.
There we go. Thank you. I wasn't sure if I had changed.
Yeah, if there's questions while Kristen is presenting, I'll be monitoring the questions, so you can feel free to pop your questions in the chat and I'll bring them up.
Okay, so can you see it now? Okay, so it says 8th grade science, week of May 4th through the 8th. Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay. So we have like instructions and then a little work tip at the top, but then we have our lesson here. So part 1 and part 2, because we're supposed to give them 2 lessons that would be an hour, but then we've broken them into, if you look at the orange part, it'll say, if you're doing this in 2 30-minute sessions, take a break here. But it'll have links. So like if I click on here, it'll bring the slideshow off to the side, and then they can click through the slideshow and it'll be right off to the right-hand side. And then like there's a link here to get their notes page. And then we have a little note about, edit it, print it out, whatever you're going to do. But then this is what you're turning in on Friday. And then there's a warm up, and it's a link to an ed puzzle. And then we figured that would take them about a half hour. And then there's another video link here. And then they have to go back to the slides. And then there was a hands-on demo that we did. So they click here. So the nicest thing about the Hyperdocs, I think, is that 1, it organizes all of your information in one spot, but then it gives you the opportunity to put everything all together. So you can put all your links to documents, to a video, to a demo, to a different website, whatever it is that you want them to interact with. And like Hannah and I thought, hey, we're not even teaching this content next year, but this would be great to use for students who were absent when you taught that, or a reteach, for next year. So we plan on putting it onto our drive for, for shared teachers, so that the other teachers who, find themselves in a situation where they need to reteach that, they could always use that lesson on photosynthesis, for a student. Yeah.
I noticed on your Hyperdoc, Kristen, that there were lots of different colors.
Yeah.
Do you have a scheme to what colors mean certain things, or how do you keep it easily navigable for students? Is that a word?
Yeah. So the colors on here, and here I'll present it again because it's more entertaining to look at than I am. Okay, there we go. Okay, so the blue is okay. This bright blue here is their do. That's what they do. Okay, so that's what that color means. This green is just to tell them anywhere you see a green here, there's going to be a link. Because for some reason you say, hey, there's a link here, but kids can't find it. I don't understand it, but it happens. So, and then the yellow is just really important. Please, note this. This is what you're turning in. And then the orange is just to tell them this is a 30-minute lesson. This next part is 30 minutes. The next part is 30 minutes. And I don't know why that one turned yellow. It was green.
So a question came in, do the colors help the students or do they find it overwhelming?
Well, we do a lot in my classroom with using colors to chunk information. And so when I first did this, I had a key that so that they would know, because the first time I did it without colors, right? And the kids were like, okay, what am I actually supposed to do though? And I was like, okay. So then it was like, okay, I'll go through. When Hannah does this, I don't know as if Hannah uses all the colors. I think hers is more of a straightforward without the colors. I don't know, one way or another, which is better on that situation. I think some students like I need a pencil that says do now in a color. And I think some students just, want it all in one color and just to click through.
I think that whatever you decide on, I think that it's really important to stay consistent. So if you would rather use an icon, like a little clip art icon or something like that, that would work too. But if your class is already like used to organizing with colors, then go for that. And I think that however you decide to organize it is great, as long as it's kind of consistent, that they can know that this means that. So I would
totally agree with that. Whatever. And that was what Hannah and I both had decided, is we were like, whatever we're going to do, we want it to be consistent. We want the kids to realize that this is the format and we're going to do it the same way, because, it's like it takes a couple of weeks for students to, feel comfortable with anything when it's new and different. And then at the end of every week, we do a survey asking the kids, were you able to finish this? How long did it take? And I've been asking them questions like, is it easier to get through? Did you understand? I've asked the questions on did the colors help? Did they not? So that we can continue to monitor what their needs are and also kind of respond to what they're telling us.
So, and at the beginning, you said that when you were just kind of like posting stuff out to a doc and just everything's in there, like, or when you were doing Google Classroom and you were just like throwing a bunch of stuff, it was very confusing. Have you gotten more positive feedback from students that this is easier to follow?
Yeah, both Hannah and I have found that like we have students that want it as early as Monday. And so that's kind of a crunch time for Hannah and I to try. I mean, I have mine posted by 5 on Monday and I send it out to the parents and the teacher and the students. And so they could access it as early as Monday night if they want. Now the district has us that we're supposed to do Wednesday, but our students, when we ask them, and it might just be that they're 8th graders as opposed to 6th or 7th graders, but they were like, I like that you give us one assignment. You give it to us once a week. We're able to ask questions whenever we want, but they can access the content whenever it's convenient for them. If that's 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, for a half an hour, for an hour, for 2 hours. I mean, I have probably 6 students that on a weekly basis are done with the whole assignment by Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the morning. So I do have some students that are like, hey, I just want to get this done. This is a priority. I know it's coming. I could plan on it and I'm going to get it done. And then what they're telling us is that they're getting so many things from other people that it's hard for them to keep on top of it. So they really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think that if they can't finish it all in one sitting, I mean, it's a lot of stuff. But
Yeah.
the beautiful thing about it is that because it's only one post and
Yeah.
it's in one place, they can just go back to that one place to keep working on it, and they don't have
Exactly.
to find lots of different small chunks.
Yeah.
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 Do you anticipate, like, you're working on this right now, you're creating Hyperdocs right now
Uh-huh.
to help organize your class. Do you anticipate that you would keep doing this even if you're face to face to organize links and resources for students?
I actually like it a whole lot better than what I was doing before with like in Google, like I was posting the presentations on a daily basis and I was posting my notes on a daily basis. And I actually think that it would be easier to just post, here was the day with a link to the presentation, a link to the notes, a link to the resources in one, as opposed to how I was using Google Classroom before, which was an assignment, a survey, a whatever, all the different things that you can create a little topic for.
Yeah.
I like that. I also think that I would do these hyperdocs again for like reteaches during advisory. I think that that would be, really helpful, or like when you do have kids that aren't there.
Yeah. It's nice that students, Miranda was just saying,
Yeah,
it's
I
nice
just
that
saw
students
that.
don't have to hunt for links and don't have
Yeah,
to hunt for other things and passwords. And that, like, I just love that it really cleans up your stream, because like students are overwhelmed right now. So
yeah,
just have like one thing to be like, this is the place I go.
yeah,
I think it can be really anxiety reducing,
yeah,
not to mention that it's easier to reuse one document in Google Classroom next year than it
yeah.
is to reuse like 8 different posts in Google Classroom for next year.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah,
Yes. So
and I would definitely say that just having the one, that's the biggest feedback that we've gotten from kids, is that they like that there's one post that they can just go to and that they don't have to look for it. The first week I did it, I couldn't figure out how to do the ed puzzle. And so I did ed puzzles, and then I did a presentation inside a Hyperdoc, and the kids were like, what? There's like 7 different things to do. And then the other part of it that drove me crazy is that they turned things in on all different 7 places. So I had to hunt for where, and then I was like, oh my God, I can't do that again. This created a nightmare for both of us, right? So the next week, with Hannah's help, I figured out how to embed the ed puzzle link in to, now it only worked, that link will only work for the students in my class because it's an assignment link.
mhm.
But it's definitely a learning process. The more I do it, the more I figure out how to streamline it and make it better. But I think that's just part of the life of a teacher, right? Is every time trying to figure out how
Yeah.
to do it a little smarter, a little simpler.
Yeah, I'm going to share to the chat a really good resource. It's a lot like your structure for this, and
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna share through that, share my screen to show you what I'm doing here. This is, I'll share this in a minute. This is just kind of tools to be like, what does a hyperdoc look like? What
Yeah.
tools could you use? So the first thing in a hyperdoc is that you should try to engage your students. So doing videos or podcasts, like posting some media for them to like look and see something to get inspired by, and then give them some exploration, some curated links to websites, articles, YouTube videos, things that they can explore, and then give them some maybe direct instruction from you, maybe a document, a slideshow, a video from you that is directly in your document, and then maybe give them some application things where they could respond to a box. You could send them out to uh, a different like platform to like create a video or something, like something that they would have to do in order to show their learning. And then they would have to share back to the creation. They could like make, if they were making like an Adobe Spark video, then they could take their link and post it right back into the Hyperdoc so that you could see it later, and then reflect on their learning or extend it. So this is really good. This is by Thomas C. Murray, and he's really good at, Kristen, I think you shared this with me. This
Yeah.
is
It was one of the tabs I was looking at trying to figure out how to show it to you guys. So yeah.
I'll put the link here in the chat so that you can have that as a really good resource to kind of get started with Hyperdocs. There you go. So that's really good. There's another one as well. This is from Ditch That Textbook, which is a fantastic resource for online learning. And this is 14 example activities. And this is where I actually found a bunch of stuff, but this is great. So it'll give you a whole bunch of ideas and different ways that you could be using Hyperdocs. So I will link that into the comments as well. Cool. Nice. Any other questions about this? I mean, I think that the most important thing here is that we're really being aware of how many posts we're pushing out to students, and we're trying to be really aware of that and trying to reduce the number of posts that we're pushing out to students, reduce the amount of posts that we have to respond to. So by using tools like Hyperdocs, like just trying to put everything into a doc, giving them like the biggest interactive activity in one doc that has all of your resources, all of your links, all of your activities all in one place, it really simplifies the classroom stream. So I think that tools like this and Bitmoji Classroom can go a long way to reduce anxiety and to reduce stress level of like, where do you go and get stuff. And Kristen's been doing an amazing job of asking her students about what works for them. And this is what she's been exploring as part of her Explorer program. And it fits really well with what we're doing. So I really want to thank you for being here, Kristen, and sharing this with everybody. We had a question in the chat come in. So do you push out a new Hyperdoc each week, or do you just edit the master doc so that students always have the same document from week to week? And Kristen said she sends out a new one each week because the information is different. So she starts off kind of with a master template and then edits the information. So I think starting with a master template so things look very similar as you're going along is probably the best way to go. And that's what Kristen said. Any other questions out there about Hyperdocs? It's a very simple idea that can really help us out here. If you, and I think the one big thing, like the one awesome shortcut that I know you can highlight stuff in Google Docs and you can click that little link button and that'll bring it up, or the shortcut on a Mac is Command K. I use that all the time. You click Command K and it'll just pop that link up. So you'll be doing a lot of linking. Any other questions about Hyperdocs or anything else while we got it here? All right, I'm going to stop recording. And then if there are other questions for Kristen or myself, just feel free to pop them into chat or feel free to unmute your mics. But thanks for being here today. And we hope that this helps your classroom and changes the way you think about Google Classroom and how you can push your links out to students in a more organized way.